Welcome to Mortgage Chicks with Hot Tips. I'm Diana Harvey.
I'm Elizabeth Hull.
I'm Kim Hairsted.
I'm Stacy Van Skank. I'm Cindy Walker.
Today we've got an interesting topic for you that's a little outside the norm. Instead of going into mortgage tips, we're actually going to go into what we like to call our secret weapon. The secret weapon we're talking about is behavioral styles. To help us with the topic today, we have a special guest speaker, Steven Wichlenski. Steven's a business strategist that focuses on behavioral styles, and he helps people to create a strategy based on those styles. Some of you may be saying, well, I'm not a business owner. Why is this important to me? Well, pretty much anybody that has a household is running a business. It may be just you in the household, or you may have a ton of kids. But any way you look at it, you're running a household, which is running a business. Oh, and by the way, our special guest speaker happens to be my husband. So welcome, Steven Wichlenski.
Hello,
Steve.
Diana. It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Steven Wichlenski, and my business is Connecting Your Dots. And I create a strategy that allows people to maximize their employees or customers or coworkers, and they can do that based on their own behavioral style. Behavioral styles are something that most business owners use automatically. Not all of them do it well. Your behavioral style are your natural gifts, things that you're comfortable to use. The motivator is happy-go-lucky, but they don't pay too much attention to facts. Or do they pay attention to what someone's asking them? A lot of times they're focused on what they want to say. And a lot of times that messes us up in our business when we have to close a deal or even worse. So that's what I basically do, Diana.
So you help businesses come up with a strategy, and business owners, a lot of times you said, are very adaptable. And you mentioned that there are motivators. Are there other styles?
Well, there's four basic styles. With all the people in the world, there's four basic styles. And our job as business owners or managers is to quickly identify those styles. And there's several ways to do it. The best way is with an assessment. You can do those online. A lot of you are familiar with different assessments that are about dogs and numbers and colors. DISC is something we use in business. I use one very similar to DISC. Tony Alessandra created one for a friend of mine, Robin Lavich. She has a Mind the Matters assessment, and I use that for businesses that are that would rather not do all of the paperwork that's involved in a full DISC survey.
So Stephen, I know that you've expressed with me the differences between DISC and this style that you use, and I have to say, I kind of like it a little better because to me, the name that they give the style matches the style a little better.
Right. I address the socializer or the influencer as a motivator, and that's easily connected with what it is that they do. The other fast-paced style is the director, or in DISC it's dominant. They're the two fast-paced styles that really attack everything. Nothing slows them down. They're perfectly fine talking about any subject at any time, whether they know the facts or not. They're fast-paced. The other two styles are slower-paced.
Okay, so tell me about those.
Well, the slower-paced style, I'm glad you asked me, Diana. The slower-paced style are investigators. That would be the conscientious and the steadfast. I call them nurturers. They're the slower-paced style, and they really don't talk until they have something to say. They're much more analytic. We have a couple on the board here. that would rather be quiet and take in all of the facts before they let out what it is they need to say. And it isn't because they don't have the answer. They have the answer. In fact, the nurturer, the slower paced style that is the steadfast, they will remind you of everything that you did wrong when you call them on the carpet for the past 3 years. So, it's very important to identify the slower pace from the fast pace. It could help you to close a deal, or it could help you to get a good referral for another tactic that you want to try in sales.
Well, this is entertaining, but how can it help in business or in life?
Well, in life, we know what we go through at home.
Yeah, I have a teenager. I know.
Teenagers, well, that's a different subject and another time. But
Amen, brother.
yeah, so I don't want to go there. A lot of times, our children, for instance, are so quick-paced, they're in and out. They don't realize that we're just home from work and we need to relax. That means shut down.
Decompress.
All four styles need to, all four
All
styles
four styles
We
need
all
need
vodka.
that time. Except the motivators. They just go on to another party. The motivator
Kevin.
style, the fast-paced style, that we would like to address from a non-business aspect is to understand that they just like to have fun, they want to keep things going, they want to keep things active. They are not doing it to rub you wrong. And a lot of our issues at home are because we think our members of our family do it on purpose. They're not doing it on purpose, but we like to blame people when we've had a long day. So what we need to try to do is to understand which style the people we have at home or in our business, if we know them to be fast-paced, expect it. If you understand that people are a certain way, either fast-paced or slow-paced, you won't hold them hostage for the way they are. And that creates a lot less stress in your life. You just won't be criticized. You won't criticize them so much about it. They will take their own car to a different place if that's the case. If you know that they take a lot of time preparing, if it's going to be a while, take 2 cars.
That's a good suggestion. I need to keep that in mind because my husband's always late.
Well, that's something we need to do more of, and it's out of respect for them. So, when they start to get upset about you taking your own car, remind them, listen, it's nothing against you,
Right.
in a very calm spirit, because the fast pace is already anticipating an argument. So they're getting their hair up before the argument even happens. The slower pace is just waiting for it to happen. The slower pace is just waiting for you to get done, your rant. And so if you understand the way they are and you expect them to do certain things, you won't be so on edge. And that keeps the irritability factor down at home and at business. You have the same things going on with employees. If you know that a manager is not quite complete, that they have a couple of things that is always going to be missing, but they're a great manager, then as an owner, you may be a nurturer because you can't fire them or you can't move them to another position. You don't want to hurt their feelings. So as a nurturer, they never fire anybody, but they need to hire a manager that can, so that their business doesn't stay stagnant. We can't do that with our kids, but man, we got to do it with our business.
Well, I have to tell you, I've been married 25 years now, and we've been through some counseling too, and very similar to some of the suggestions, except they called it kitchen sink fighting, something that you were talking about, bringing up things from 3 years ago. So being focused on what you're talking about and not bringing in everything and the kitchen sink. Sounds
Yes.
like a lot of what you're talking about, helping us get to the point
That's
and
exactly
solve the
right.
problem.
That's exactly right. And in dealing with the 4 styles, the nurturer, the steadfast, that's the one that just doesn't want to make any waves. That is not the person you want to have as a manager. That's, even though they're great in negotiating management issues, because they have no they don't get aggravated very often. They're great counselors because they're looking at this. The director style leaves the room 3 or 4 times, and the police may be called. But that's the director style getting hot.
Right.
They have a short fuse, the director style. The Donald Trumps, the Martha
Stewart.
Martha Stewart, is that she's still around?
Yes.
And she's still a director.
And making one heck of a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving at that.
Okay, but I have to say, have you analyzed all of us? Because you said there are a couple of directors amongst the group when you sat down. So
Well-
I'm feeling psychoanalyzed here
Already.
slightly.
I couldn't figure out which one of us wasn't the
I
director.
know. I'm saying.
Can you be the director and
the
the
closest
nurturer?
one, and without an assessment, that's the best way to do it. With a scientific assessment, there's no doubt. But just rule of thumb, I would say the closest one you have here to a director would be Elizabeth, and you're not a director, you're a directing nurturer. I'm sorry, a directing investigator style. Because you cross all your T's, you dot all your I's, you want everything just so. A lot of times on your paperwork, you will do it and redo it and do it again, just to make sure that you're right. But your director style wants it done a certain way. You don't want anyone telling you how to do that. You don't want anyone suggesting how you do that. You really want to take charge of your own affairs. My wife, who I love dearly,
Of course you do.
We do too.
What's not to love?
my wife is a nurturing director style, a nurturing director style. With once she gets something in her head, she doesn't get rid of it, but she cares. So the nurturing style is she wants to help everybody until they step on her foot. And then they're never going to work in this town again. I'm exaggerating.
That's okay. Just use me to make a point. I can take it. I can take it.
And I'm really not. I don't know a lot of you that well, or been around you enough. Cindy.
Oh.
Cindy, I see you as an investigator style,
Okay.
really. A nurturing investigator style because you give a lot. You're always there to help somebody, but you really want to control your time, and you're not there for everybody.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, some of the things that I've found is that just jobs that people have done a lot of times can kind of give you a hint as to what they're good at. For example, Cindy, it didn't surprise me him saying you were an investigator because you were an underwriter before. Mm-hmm. And those people have to be very detail oriented. So sometimes that can help you figure out, what style they are so that you can adapt to their style.
Well, I know Cindy's husband, so I can tell you that a lot of times we tend to marry or have our relationship with someone that's opposite our style.
Amen, brother.
And that's really because we don't have the guts to be like that. You know, we like to cut up, but we wouldn't cut up like that. You correct me, but you have a certain amount of joy in correcting me. So that brings another dimension to your behavioral, to your personality style, not your behavioral style. Behavioral styles are different than personalities, but I have to say that it's the same thing that most motivators or director styles seize the opportunities with their relationships, because the motivator doesn't know when to stop. He doesn't know when to quit having fun. And he looks forward to the relationship part of his pairing, because he knows that, you know, you'll remind him, you'll tell him. Same thing with the director style. The director style gives that I don't care attitude. A lot of managers, a lot of team managers are director styles, but their director styles are good for the team because they need, the team needs a manager, and the manager doesn't want to do all the work. The director style delegates. Not that they don't know their stuff, but that's where they're great at. The director style's a multitasker, and they'll take on another task, another task, another task. The investigator style's going, gosh, they didn't finish that. And I don't know what to do.
Yes.
The director style says, we'll do it, we'll get it, he'll do it, I'll have it, 4 o'clock tomorrow, we'll have it. The slower paced style is going, how the heck is he doing that? I don't understand it. But the next day, when something doesn't work out right or the cards start to fall, he lets them all go. The director style just lets them all go. And he says it in the name of quality control. He's going to take another course. We're going to try something else. And you got all these other things that never got done. But he can blame someone else because he's got them on the staff. And so someone else takes the blame, his slate is clean, and he moves on to another project. That's the director style that we're all familiar with seeing or have heard, and that's why we may not want to be associated with certain people that are hard to get along with. They're hard to get along with because they're unreasonable. But the motivator style, they don't know what happened.
They're partying.
I thought they liked me, and it's one of those kind of things.
So one of the things that I find really interesting is that I'm living with you. I'm very blessed to be able to take situations where I've been frustrated and say, okay, Steven, I'm not sure. I'm talking to this person and I don't think they're understanding the way I'm presenting it. They're not getting what I'm telling them. And you, every time you sit down and you say, are they fast-paced or are they slow-paced? Are they relationship-based or are they task-based? And based on that information, then we're able to figure out what their style is. And normally speaking, the problem is that I'm not talking to them in a way that they're hearing what I'm saying.
A lot of times the slower pace investigator style and nurturer style have a small view of the world. They see things only in segments, where the director style or the motivator style sees the whole world. And in a lot of times in putting your plan together, and you have to make hard decisions, the fast-paced style doesn't understand why the slower-paced style isn't more decisive. Why did you keep that plan in play? Why are you doing something that was designed for someone else? You see this a lot in team management in realtors, with realtors. You join a real estate team, they tell you to make so many phone calls, you take the job, you're excited as heck, you sit down and you look at what they're expecting you to do, and you're fast-paced. You want people, you don't want phone calls.
Right.
And so that sets you back. That hurts your attitude. The boss comes in, wants to know why you're not working out. This just doesn't work right. You need to follow a plan for yourself. And so in putting together a strategy plan for a business owner, I try to get them to understand their strengths and why they are the way they are, why they're wired the way they are. Once they understand that, it helps them to identify it with others, because you need a plan that works for you. If you don't have success in the business plan that you're following, you're going to get disheartened and you're going to fail. You're just going to get disenchanted. You may quit that job. You may never find the right combination. So if you're fast-paced, plug yourself in with people. You may want to set goals for yourself. If you achieve these goals, I'll get a glass of wine at the end of the day.
Ooh.
I know that would work for some of you guys. Harder stuff for some of us. But you have to find out what it is you like and seize on that opportunity so that you make your business day a lot less stressful, because work is work. And then we go home to the kids and the husband, and work is work. So we need to look for every opportunity we can to make life a little bit more palatable.
I came from a large team environment before I started working as an outside loan originator, and I found one of my biggest struggles was my personality, trying to force my personality on other people, trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And this has been great, just this little bit of information and understanding that as a motivator, it's important that I learn what motivates them and not focus so much on me, because then I'm not getting the listening, because again, I'm not picking up on the personality type. So thank you so much. I mean, it's really been... Try
to identify your own strengths and challenges, because a lot of business owners think they're a motivator style because they enjoy making a flyer. Right. Oh, I love to market for my business. Well, you know what? They also like staying in the back room, locked behind a door where nobody can get to them. So that's something that's not right there. The part that we need to connect with is the fact that we are the way we are, and if something isn't working out right, we need to change it. Sometimes that's us, sometimes that's somebody else. So don't let it fester, because the nurturer doesn't like to make waves, and if you're one of those people that likes to help other people, you're liable to let it go too long. So, nip it in the bud while you can. And the motivator needs to be with people that will control them. We joke around with the motivator. Motivator can, most of the time, they can win an argument not knowing what the heck they're talking about. And it's because they're so pleasant and so much fun, but they need to be controlled. So at the opposite end of their world, they do not like the investigator style. So an investigator style and a motivator style, they rub each other the wrong way.
Well, that's not good, because I'm married to a motivator and I'm an
yes,
investigator.
but control is everything.
Right.
And when the motivator becomes a puppy dog, like my wife's, a slower pace, and I'm the one with the...
And I tell everyone that my husband is like a little puppy.
and
puppies
I've been
are so
described
cute.
like that.
I don't mean anything by it, and most motivators don't. But if you're in a bad mood, and let's put stress in there. If you're stressed and you've had a stressful day, you're not going to be in a slower paced investigator style isn't going to want to hear from the motivator. Take your toys and go in the other room because I need to defrac here.
I think someone is relating to that.
So, and it isn't, but I have to say that they make the best teams when they're unstressed because they make life interesting. The one doesn't like to make a scene, and the other one makes a scene every time he turns around.
Oh, well, the thing that I find really interesting is you've helped me to understand too that people can wear multiple hats and it can be difficult to figure out what style they are, but they always fall back to their style when they're stressed.
It's true.
And that's where it really
Yeah.
came to hit me as well, because in what we do, of course, people get very stressed.
Right.
There's a lot going on, money, family, house. It makes it
Yeah.
stressful. And that is when you start to realize their style, and that's where you've been a big help to me to realize what their style is. Then I'm able to help overcome their stress.
I know you get those customers or those prospects that have it all figured out for you.
Oh, yes.
And they have plenty of cash. And it's just a matter of getting through the paperwork. And they'll start telling you how you need to put through the paperwork. And that is not what you want to get on the side of an investigator style. You don't want to do that. Because as the conversation goes, their attention span gets smaller and smaller and smaller. When an investigator style gets stressed, they don't see as big of a picture as they did even when they sat down to the deal. In other words, they don't have a big view of the world anyway. They're addressing certain things that are all have to do with facts and details. And the motivator has none of that. He all he knows is he's got enough money because he owns 3 or 4 properties or more. He thinks he's got plenty of money. He isn't thinking about he owes money on all those properties. And so that changes things. And you can't explain it to them unless you have it on paper because they just don't get it. And it's because of their attention span and their behavioral style that they don't. So if you know that if you can identify them and know that they are a high stressful person, you can expect it. And so you sit
Take a
back.
step back and
Yeah.
Figure it out.
realize
right.
how
So
to work with
instead-
them.
Go
That
get
is
yourself
right.
a drink, come back, let them
Yeah.
talk.
So instead of trying to change them, maybe you
have
change
to
the way
adapt.
you approach
We have to
You need
them.
to adapt.
Adapt.
You need to adapt.
Adapt.
You're not,
Better word than change.
Neither one of you are going to change.
Right. But adapt it.
Right.
Compromise.
Not even compromise, because as an LO, you have certain things you have to accomplish in your
Yes.
process.
Thank you.
Yes.
So there's no, you have a job to do, and all they're doing is getting in your way. So you have to figure out a way that you can talk to them that they'll listen.
Right.
So sometimes you got to
No,
slap
it's
them around.
right. It's a struggle. It's a struggle because again, I'm thinking I'm being very clear on how I'm communicating, and they're on a different planet.
Right, so you have to,
There we go
that's why you
again.
have to identify and
Right.
adapt.
Right.
Because once you identify their style, you can adapt and take it, baby it down, dummy it down, so that they understand that this isn't gonna go away. You mean these 5 properties I have means nothing? On paper, they mean nothing. They're costing you.
Right.
They're affecting your credit.
Yes.
So you have to tell them and explain that to them. And when he tells you that, well, I called so-and-so and bank and they said it was this, this, and this, you have to tell them, listen, you can go back to that and you can call them and ask them again, but I can tell you that it's not going to work out and that's going to cost you a lot of time. And when you come back, this deal, the rate may not be the same.
Right.
So you have to explain it to them in terms they'll understand.
Got it.
And these same tips works on kids, friends, all kinds of people.
They take longer with kids.
Amen.
I like the client that you call up and they're so nice in the beginning, and then when something goes wrong, they just, all their wheels fall off, and you're just like, what the heck happened? You were so nice in the beginning and so easy going, and then all of a sudden one little
Well-
thing goes off track.
And that's why it's important to have that opening conversation with them. Let them talk as long as you possibly can, so that you can understand who they are and where they're coming from. Because number one, you're always going to get the blame anyway, because you
always
told
our
them
fault.
you told them that, and you didn't emphasize that enough. What that means is the motivator doesn't remember what you're telling them. When they go in to buy a house and the water heater is a bright color, they think it's their color. I mean, that's good. They don't think like an investigator where they want to know how much electricity it uses, how old is it, where's the pan that it's supposed to be sitting on. They don't see any of that. They just say, who owned this house before? No kidding. They own this house? I gotta have it. Well, you're a few $1,000s short. Oh, we'll get it.
You'll find it somewhere.
Yeah, that first house I bought was labeled a great party house. I didn't even, that was all I needed.
That's our Elizabeth.
My husband was like, wait. We do need home inspections. We need to know there's more than a party going on here.
Well, Stephen, I really want to thank you for coming in today and sharing with us the different behavioral styles and how we can learn to adapt to make our lives easier and
Well,
theirs.
I don't know if that's going to happen, Diana. To make the life of an investigator style easier, a lot of times the motivator can't do it except with his humor. The director style can only do it by putting something that of value in the deal, because they're connected with that. The director is doing everything for the value of something. If it advances their bottom line, they're in. So they must have something of value to give you. The nurturer just wants everyone to be happy, and that's what I wish for us all.
The nurture.
And there you go. We're all going to be happy. Thank you so very much, Stephen. We've learned a lot, and we're all going to try to see if we can adapt better.
Adapt, that's the word of the day.
Adapt's the word of the day.
Adapt, not change, but adapt.
Adapt. Thank you all so very much. See you next week.